Hey, welcome to The Explainer. In pretty much any tech company, there's this one critical partnership that can literally make or break a product. I'm talking about the one between product and engineering. Today, we're going to break down how this collaboration is the absolute key to figuring out what to build and making sure it's a huge success.
I mean, that sounds super obvious, doesn't it? But honestly, this is exactly where so many amazing ideas just go off the rails. This first step can be a direct path to what some people call the graveyard of good intentions. And it's a place that is just littered with these brilliant, perfectly engineered products that nobody ever actually wanted.
So, how does that even happen? Well, it usually boils down to two classic mistakes that can steer even the most promising ideas straight into that failure trap.
Look, failure almost always comes down to this massive imbalance between the what and the how. So on one side, you've got teams that get so laser focused on execution, the how, that they build this technically perfect product that, well, solves no real-world problem. And then on the other side, you have teams that get so lost in the vision, the what, that they dream up something absolutely incredible that is completely impossible to actually build. So, to avoid that trap, you have to find that sweet spot, that perfect balance. And the answer, you guessed it, lies in this essential partnership between two key groups. All right, first up, product management. Think of them as the company's internal diplomats. It's their job to be the voice of both the customer and the business. They're the ones synthesizing all the input from sales, from marketing, from other stakeholders, all to answer those fundamental questions. What should we be building? And more importantly, why does it even matter? And then on the other side of the house, you've got engineering. These are the masters of execution and feasibility. They work hand in glove with the operational teams, development, support, ops, to figure out the nitty-gritty reality of how a product can actually be built, what it's going to take, and what all the technical trade-offs are. And this is where it all clicks into place. See, product and engineering are really just two sides of the same coin. Product estimates the value of a feature. That's the why. And engineering estimates the cost. That's the how. And real, lasting success, that only happens when value and cost are in a constant, honest conversation with each other. So let's pull back the curtain a little and look at the actual tools these teams use to turn that crucial conversation into a real, unified plan. Okay, a fantastic tool for this early stage planning is something called t-shirt sizing. It's just a simple, super intuitive way for engineering to give a quick estimate of the effort involved. The goal isn't to get a perfect number of hours. It's all about getting a relative sense of scale, right? Is this feature a small, a medium, or is it an extra large? This lets the team make rapid, high-level trade-offs without getting totally bogged down in the details. Now, those initial estimates, they feed directly into the product roadmap. And you really have to think of the roadmap as the GPS for the entire project. It lays out the high-level vision, the key milestones, and it makes sure everybody is actually headed in the same direction. And this creates a really clear hierarchy for planning. You start with that big picture vision in the roadmap. Then that gets broken down into detailed product requirement documents, or PRDs, and engineering specs that define all the specifics. And then finally, all those specifics get translated into individual, trackable tasks inside a project management system. Okay, so you've got a blueprint in place. Now you need a central system to manage the execution and make sure everyone stays on the same page. And that is the job of the project management system. And believe me, this is so much more than a simple to-do list. It's really the project's central nervous system. It coordinates every single action, tracks every dependency, and creates that all-important single source of truth for the entire team. These functions are what give you total transparency into the project. They connect those big, high-level goals directly to the individual tasks on the ground, and that allows teams to make smart, data-driven decisions and adapt super quickly when things inevitably change. So what does this actually look like in the wild? Let's explore two very different stories. One is a huge success, and the other is a really powerful cautionary tale. First up, the success story. This is all about a team that absolutely crushed it because they worked together to dig deeper than the surface-level complaint to find the real customer problem. So get this. Customers were complaining that these massive data reports were taking over 12 hours to complete. Now, the knee-jerk reaction was to try and speed up the reports themselves, which was a huge technical challenge. But by actually collaborating, product and engineering discovered the real frustration wasn't the 12-hour wait. Turns out, users kind of expected that. The real problem was a slow, unresponsive user interface. A much simpler fix to the UI completely solved the customer's actual pain point. Amazing, right? All right, now for the other side of the coin, the cautionary tale. This is what happens when collaboration gets thrown out the window and replaced by top-down mandates and trust is completely lost. I want you to picture this. Product and engineering present a detailed, realistic plan for a major release at the end of the year. The CEO reviews it and, basically believing they can bend reality through sheer force of will, just mandates that the release will be done 6 months earlier. And the result is, well, totally predictable. The team, now stuck with no choice, has to redefine the product. They start stripping out critical features just to ship a hollowed-out version of what was planned. So yeah, they hit the impossible deadline, but the product is a failure. It satisfies no one, and even worse, the trust between leadership and the teams is completely shattered, which just leads to a culture of defensive, inefficient work. These two stories, they really shine a spotlight on the fundamental truth here. A healthy, effective product engineering partnership is built on a foundation of trust and shared responsibility. The second one side gets punished for being honest, or when reality is just ignored for the sake of a deadline, the entire system just breaks down. And that brings us to the final critical question you should be asking. When you look at your own teams, are they building on a foundation of trust? Or are they being forced to distort reality? The answer to that question just might define the success of your next product.